Hello everyone, welcome to my channel, or if you're returning, welcome back to my channel. If you're not familiar with me, my name's George. I generally review tech, do tech news, but the next series that I'm going to be doing is a series on, it's related to tech, it's on a smart home. Why I don't believe has been adopted, and why you should consider one. Now, with full disclosure, I'm doing this video. There's two companies I've went with. Insteon for the hardware. They have not provided me with anything. And I've been using Home Control Assistant, that's the logo here, for a couple of years now. Now, I purchased version 13. I upgraded to version 14. And they have provided me, very kindly, with version 15. They didn't have to do that, but they have. So that is the disclosure. That was very nice of them. You could say, well, that makes you biased. No. And I'll tell you why. I approached them. They didn't approach me. I approached them because I've been using their software for a couple years. And I like it. I use it. And I've been doing that long before I approached them to upgrade me for free to version 15. Now, I've tried other home control software. I tried a version for Linux, which was basically all script, and I wasn't really in the mood to learn like a script language to be able to control my devices. I tried a program called Homeseer, and it was a very nice program. It was pretty easy to use, but to expand its functionality and capability, you have to use add-ons. Some of the add-ons are free, but the ones I needed were more money. So not only are you shelling out for the program, but you're shelling out for the expansion packs that you need, or the add-ons, to be able to use the software in the way you want it to. I also used Castle OS. This guy was very nice, very kind. I was having some problems with his software, and I hadn't paid for it yet. And I gave him a report that listed a few bugs. He contacted me. I let him remote desktop into my system to be able to attempt to fix it. After several attempts, it still wasn't working properly. And it didn't have the functionality that Home Control Assistant does. One thing that's very nice about Home Control Assistant, it comes in two parts. It has a server and a client program. You can run both on one system, or you can run server on one system and run a client on a separate system. That way you can access and create the programs as you want from a different location. You do that on your home network. If you want to be brave, you can do that over the internet. But my philosophy on the internet is, if you can do it, so can someone else. A reason why I chose Insteon is Insteon has greater availability of different devices, and it's very reasonable in price for what you get, and they're not internet dependent. What do you mean by that? Recently, if you've invested in Lowe's smart devices, they're taking down their servers. So you spent all that money on your smart home that is basically all or most of it is not going to be functional. If I remember correctly, I might be wrong, but I believe Samsung smart devices also depend on an internet connection, whereas Home Control Assistant and Insteon will continue to function without an internet connection. Now, some of the functionality will not be available. For example, you can set it up so that you can interface with Google Home or Amazon's Assistant. I'm not going to say the name because that'll trigger everybody's devices. And those are internet dependent functions. So if you have an internet outage, yes, those functions won't be available. But with Insteon controlled by Home Control Assistant, as long as your system's running, it'll continue to control those devices without the internet connection. And that's why I chose Insteon and Home Control Assistant. Home Control Assistant is extremely easy to use. It's easy to add the devices from, once you buy an Insteon device, you bring it into your home, you plug it in or you install it or whatever, and then you integrate it right into Home Control Assistant, and Home Control Assistant will give you the customizability to be able to program that device in the manner of which you want it to work. And you could do that based on different home modes. For example, there's 3 different modes by default, and you can change them. There's away, there's home and awake, and home and asleep. Now you can have your device check on what the home state is and act differently depending on what the home mode is. And it's very easy. When I say it gives you total control of your devices, if you have an automated sprinkler system, let's say, Home Control Assistant can go out to a free weather forecast and say, okay, it didn't rain today, so, and it's not forecast to rain today, so I'm going to go ahead and turn the sprinklers on for an hour and then shut them off. But if the weather says, oh, it's going to rain and it's going to be half an inch, okay, we'll turn the sprinklers on for 30 minutes instead of an hour. Or it's pouring down with rain, don't bother with the sprinklers, it'll simply skip that day. And you don't have to think about it, you don't have to worry about it. Once you've put that into place, you're done. You don't have to deal with it again. Now, it's also very easy and convenient is the customizability and the expandability. What do I mean by that? Customizability, you can base it based on time, based on day, based on month, based on season, based on year. Well, and you can change it and adapt it as you want. And what is all great about it too is you don't have to go out and buy everything all at once and then hope that there's everything that you need in the package. And you also do not need to subscribe to a monthly service. Oh yeah, we're going to come into your home, we're going to set all this up for you, but you're tied into a 2-year agreement, 1-year agreement at X amount of dollars per month. You're paying for that, you're paying for the equipment, and let's say you build a shed. You have your house all done up, and you build a shed, and you want to add some devices. What do? With Home Control Assistant and with Insteon, you can buy a door sensor, mount that on the door. Maybe you have electricity back there and you have a light. So you can buy a light adapter or a light controller so that when the door opens, the light automatically comes on. And when the home state is set to home and awake, you open the doors and the light turns on. If the home state is asleep or away, home and asleep or away, you can have it still turn on the light, but you can also have it send you a text message or a email message to say, hey, something's going on at home that needs your attention. The shed door is open. That is convenience and safety. For example, Another example would be I have a door sensor on my front door, and I have a wall switch, a smart wall switch. When the front door opens, the lights turn on in the front room. That lights my path to the kitchen. Once I get into the kitchen, there's a motion sensor that lights up the under counter lights. Now, if I'm having gone grocery shopping, I have a lot of groceries in my hand, I don't have to go fumbling for a switch. I don't have to go fumbling through the dark. Maybe something fell and I'm going to trip over it because I've got my hands full of groceries. The lights turn on as I move from room to room, and I have it programmed that way. Convenience and safety. Now, Home Control Assistant has many, many different options, many different things you can do with it. And yes, you do need to program it. But don't be intimidated by that word at all. It utilizes what's called a visual programmer, in that you tell it, okay, test for this function if the time of day is after sunset but before sunrise. For the front patio lights, if there's motion, turn those lights on. If it's after sunrise but before sunset, don't do anything. Don't turn the lights on. Don't do anything. If the home state is away, send a message. Don't turn the lights on. And that is so easy to put into the visual programmer, and it works exactly as it's programmed. As I said, so don't let this be intimidating to you. Once you do it, once you set it up, once you get it to where you want it, and you can go back and tweak it, you can go back and change it. But once you set it up, you don't have to think about it anymore. You don't have to do anything else. And it is so very easy to set up. And like I said as well, you can start out with a starter kit and the Home Control Assistant. And then as you expand, it expands with you. You just added devices into Home Control Assistant, link them so that Home Control Assistant will integrate that device into itself. You can use the visual programmer to tell that device how to behave, and you're done. Well, do I have to run a computer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? You don't have to. There's another part that you can program the devices to work autonomously, but that takes away a lot of that control, meaning that if the door opens on the shed, it's going to send you an email, it's going to turn the light on, no matter what time of day it is, no matter what. That can get annoying. This way, unless the home state is not home and asleep or away, you don't have to worry about it sending you a text message, either text message or an email message, alerting you that someone's opened the shed door. Because you're home and your significant other, or whatever, your friend, your son, your daughter, whatever, went into the shed. So you do want to run a system 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And it doesn't have to be like this editing system that I'm sitting beside, that I'm recording this video on. I have run Home Control Assistant on this thin client. This is a dual core 4 gigabyte computer. I don't want to run it on this device anymore because it has Windows 7 embedded, which means that it's not going to get the security updates or the patches that would be released to something like this Dell Optiplex 3020 computer. Now this has 8 gigabytes of memory. It has a dual core 4-thread processor. It has a 500 gigabyte hard drive, which is more than enough for what we're going to be using it for. But I can run Windows 10 on this, and I'm going to get security patches and updates as time goes on. So that makes that solution much more secure than a simple thin client. You can run home control system, like I say, on this potato. But when you run it on a computer, it's going to be better secure because you're going to get the security patches and the security updates to keep the operating system up to date. And that's not what you're going to get when the operating system is embedded. Will that cost you a little bit of money each month? Yes. Is that going to cost you as much as it is to run the devices and pay for a service? And typically those services are under $30 a month, $29.99. Yes, that's a penny under $30. But is that a deal? Well, I'm going to pay for somebody if there's an emergency that they're going to contact blah blah blah. You can program Home Control Assistant to do that. You can program it that if you have a smart device, a smart speaker, an assistant, that if you say Alexa, help, then it's going to send a text message to your husband, your son, your daughter, come home, of something's going on, there's a medical emergency. Now if there's a power outage, if you have a third party security system, it's done. But with the devices that you purchase, yes, some of the devices aren't going to work anymore. The smart switches, they're not going to work because there's no electricity. But the majority of other devices, the door sensors, the motion sensors, they all work on battery. And yes, you do have to change the battery every couple years. It's still going to cost you a lot less than $29.99 per month. And those, as long as your other equipment is on a uninterruptible power supply, will still be able to communicate with the Insteon hub and the Home Control Assistant computer that you have running. As long as they're powered by either an uninterruptible power supply or from your power utility, they're still going to communicate. And you're still going to be safer for it. And like I said, with those other services, you're paying monthly, and they're not expandable. This is something that you can start small, and over time, just purchase more devices. And once you get to the point where you don't have a need for anything else, you stop buying it. Or if they come out with something new, something different, you have put a shed out there, you can expand it a little bit more. What's nice about Insteon is it creates what's called a mesh network. The hub communicates with the closest device, which says, okay, this message isn't for me, so it rebroadcasts it to the other devices until one of the devices says, okay, that's me, does what the command tells it to do, says okay, and that gets sent back through the mesh network. So you don't necessarily need a repeater. In fact, I have absolutely no need for one because all the devices, even though the hub is, I'm pointing at it right now, it's about 4 feet away from me. The closest device is about 7 feet from it. But I have devices as far away as my upstairs hallway. And what that does is the signal will travel to the closest device, and it just gets repeated throughout the other devices on the network. That is so convenient. You don't have to run wires where you don't need to. Now, I do have some smart switches which replaced the regular switch. I can still turn it on, turn it off as I want. I can press and hold it and it'll slowly ramp up, or I just tap it and it'll automatically turn on. I still have control over that. But if I forget to turn it off, it's going to stay on until an event happens, or I turn the switch off. And that is what is so nice about having these devices, is the security and the safety and the convenience that these devices allow you to have. It just takes a little bit of patience, a little bit of thinking things through, how you want them to behave, and it's so easy to create with the Insteon devices and the home control assistant software. Again, you might say, oh, well, you're being biased. I've been using this stuff for over 2 years. I've been using Home Control Assistant for over 2 years. All they've done is they've given me a free upgrade. Another thing is the difference between a remote switch and a smart home is not the devices, and then you have to get out your phone or your tablet, start the program, hit the switch. That's not convenient. I could just go to the switch and turn it on. I have to pull out my phone, start the program, and hit it. Oh, well, I could do that from 10 miles away. Yeah, I could do that with this 10 miles away if I want. But one thing that goes to my statement of, if you can do it, so can someone else. That's kind of a little bit of a risk you're going to take if you have it so you can access this stuff from somewhere else. But the nice thing, especially about this, is it is not internet dependent. So even if your internet goes out, everything's going to function exactly the same way. The only thing you're going to lose is your smart speakers, your Alexa, Apple Home, or Google Home, because those are internet dependent. But Home Control Assistant and Insteon are not internet dependent. And as I said, even worst case, your power goes out. As long as your computer and the hub is still working, you have them hooked up to uninterruptible power supplies, your sensors will still function, and they still will be commanded by Home Control Assistant. And Home Control Assistant will still be able to say, hey, somebody open the front door, and the home state is away. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that video. I mean, it was a bit of a talking head, but the point of it is, don't waste your money on a home system that may or may not be what you want or need. This is so much more than what you're going to get from someone else. And you can do it yourself. It's very, as I said many times, it's very easy to do. And we're going to go through this together. So if you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you have any questions, please, absolutely, leave a comment down below. But get subscribed and hit the little bell icon so that you'll get notified when new videos get posted. We will see you guys in the next one.